So, welcome. My name is Stuart McAllister, and this is another episode of TIRAtalks for TIRA, the International Relocation Associates. And I'm delighted today to be joined by Christine Martin, not Martin, from EO Mobility in Barcelona in Spain, and also a fellow board member of TIRA and the current vice chair. Hi, Christine. How are you?
Hi, Stuart. Good to be with you today, and all good and happy to have the talk.
Thank you. I'm glad to have you here. We're going to start with the basics of have been running a company in Barcelona for a long time now. You've also one of those unique companies that's managed to rebrand itself quite recently. But I'd like to start by just having you take me all the way back to the beginning of how you came to found your business, what it was called originally. We can only one time, we will go back and we'll remind ourselves of the name of the business, and then the history and how you come to be today and how you came to rebrand.
Yes, thank you very much. So yes, it was a very interesting situation. As you know, we were having the Barcelona Olympic Games in 1992. So we created Olympic Advisors for that purpose as a service company in 1988, because everything gets prepared pretty much in advance. And it was a fantastic experience. As I said, we were a service company and we were working with sponsors, so the needs were very different. And once the Olympic Games were over, I felt like, what do we do next? And then came across relocation, also because my husband that founded the company together with me, was foreign. I was half foreign, but still we were very much part of the expat community, and as such saw the need for relocation services. And just started without knowing much about relocation, to be honest, but just with the experience we had personally and from other friends, acquaintances, and that was fascinating to me. So definitely the people were very happy to receive the service, to be helped. Not very many back then had relocation services. So the ones that were lucky enough to have that support were very appreciative. And it just went on. We worked mainly for years with direct clients. And then when we started losing some of those direct clients to the RMCs, we felt, maybe that we should keep those clients through the RMC. And so, we today work mostly for RMCs, still obviously have a certain number of direct clients.
Right.
Yeah, so, after 30 years or more of Olympic Advisors and a logo with the rings of the Olympic Games, I had encountered that some people were coming to me and saying, oh, the Olympic Games, but doesn't it sound like such a long time ago? And I kept thinking, yes, that's right. But we liked our logo, and but then felt the need to give a different image. It's such an old name. I'd liked it for a while because people remembered our name because it was different from all the other companies. There was relocation of one kind or another. So at least they remembered the name pretty well. But then we wanted to give it definitely a new image and especially a new direction as well at the same time.
Okay.
So we went very drastically. We had the opportunity with COVID. COVID gave us that opportunity of having the time to rethink how we wanted to carry on. And we just said, okay, let's be very drastic. Let's have something that may appeal more to younger generations. Everybody knew us as Olympic advisors in the industry, so I wasn't too concerned about all of a sudden starting from new because nobody knows you. And we started EO Mobility Consultancy. And I said earlier, with a new direction because wanted to direct it a little bit as a consulting firm because we give support and advice locally, but relocation I've encountered for so many years with so many people, they never knew what it was. So consulting, nobody knows really what it is either to a certain extent, but people understand you are giving support and you are giving advice. So this is a little bit the direction. And EO came from the Latin word of to go, so wanted to enforce that new image of a new era, if you want. So the same company, but with a different image. And I'm happy we did it. And I think we're better prepared with that logo, definitely, and more appealing to the younger generations. And we left behind maybe what could have been considered an older company. So preparing for the next generation.
Absolutely. And I mean, I follow EO Mobility on Instagram, and there's always something going on. So there's obviously active content there that's, and it can focus on just what's going on in Spanish, or say in Spain itself, or some, elements of the Spanish language, those cute little phrases that, that it says, and we love this, or that because, there are odd phrases that are used in Spanish, obviously translated into English for our benefit, to understand why that phrase would be like that. And it's so, I like the angle that you've taken, rather than just writing about trends in global mobility relating to Barcelona, which, okay, valuable, but that's not the place for, that's not for Instagram. And so you've taken this cultural angle, and I like it a lot.
Well, I need to give credit to my daughter Tiffany for that because she's been in charge of it. And yes, she liked the aesthetics, but it's definitely cultural content. We felt with Instagram that was important, so that people feel like it's very appealing to come and live in Spain, because we're not just based in Barcelona, that's our headquarters, but obviously we have larger team in Madrid and across Spain. So major cities in Spain we cover as well. But yes, it's important to give that flavor, because I believe in, the transferees understanding a little bit more, or having the feel for the culture of the country where they're going to be moving to. And maybe we can come back on that afterwards. I believe in getting cultural trainings. I mean, local cultural trainings, I think they are as needed, if not more needed today than they ever were before. And we see it by, the way the transferees think they come from a certain country, and they can manage on their own, and at the end of the day, they really can't, because they lack that local culture. So
absolutely. Of all of the services that I guess I would consider to be an ancillary service, because we don't deliver it in-house, but that I believe in the most, it would be cross-cultural training. I can tell stories of companies that have had significant difficulty setting up where I'm based here in Hungary, just because they didn't understand the local workforce, and the local workforce didn't understand them. Exactly. And it's a two-way street. So if you're suddenly having an expatriate boss from, I don't know, Venezuela, and his or her attitude towards you as an employee is very different from what you would normally expect, there's an opportunity for you to learn as well. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. That's definitely an area. And by the way, do you have your own trainers for that, or do you outsource the service?
So we have outsourced the service, but we want to actually have our own trainers for that. And we see that we have some of our senior consultants that could be very good at doing it.
Right.
Because it's more understanding that culture, and we're going to focus a little bit more towards that. It's just like an orientation service. what does it mean? I mean, it needs to be personalized, otherwise it doesn't make any sense. We're not tourist guides, and it's more like, what does he need to know in his location, and what is he interested in? We actually had some programs specifically done for each of the transferees of a multinational that brought a few of their EEs, and they were just giving them the orientation service, nothing else, because they were in Spain for a very short term. And we did something different for each of them. And that I thought was interesting.
That's definitely interesting. That's something I think you could even talk about at a roundtable discussion. You know, maybe even for TIRA, that we've never. This is something that maybe a TIRA could get into, of talking about the delivery of individual services at the micro level, of really getting into like, well, how do we deliver settling in? How can an orientation be delivered in such a way that it offers the maximum benefit for an individual? How can you tailor it? Because it sounds like a major investment to do that. But I imagine that there are only a certain amount of elements, like a menu almost, that you could choose from.
Exactly, depending on the interest of the year and obviously on a specific location. But yes, it was an interesting experience, and definitely worth exploring. You know, we are obviously strong believers in technology, but at the end of the day, what will make the E feel he has had a very complete relocation experience is that human touch and that differentiator, basically. So
Absolutely.
we need to keep on working, and that is successful when you have a good team. I mean, the team is critical.
Couldn't agree more. Let's change tack ever so slightly. Obviously, we're here to talk about, well, we're in the context of TIRA.
Sure.
So tell me about Olympic Advisors, now EO Mobility's journey with TIRA. When did you join? What's your experience been?
I'm not going to give you the exact year, because to be honest with you, I don't have the exact date, but it was 20 years ago. Definitely. I was introduced back then by Dominique Berthoud from Home Conseil, and I love the global network idea. I felt, you know, the fact we could share best practices, industry trends, that we had common values, that we could just talk to each other and learn from each other, that was a very appealing part for me. So
Right.
I am very happy to be serving TIRA, and I think we can develop many different and other, you know, ways of supporting each other and learning from each other.
Absolutely. Definitely, that's why I'm part of the board as well. I'm, you know, I when I first joined, which of course is relatively recently, it's only a few years ago, I was trying to understand the value of this organization, and I guess that the best way to find out and then to ultimately add value to it is from within. So and it's great. I mean, it was great when you joined the board of TIRA, because of course it's not our first time on a board together. So I was delighted that we were together again. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next few years, and where we're going to take the organization. Only really one more thing I wanted to ask you about. This has been a time of extraordinary upheaval with the pandemic, and then the war in Ukraine, which impacted all of us in the industry, certainly at least within Europe last year. How was 2022 for you, and how do you feel about 2023?
2022 was excellent. We obviously benefited from a backlog from 2021.
Right.
Of a certain number of transferees that, for visa reasons or others, were delayed in their arrival. But it was certainly a very, very good year. 2023, where we read in the papers every day that there is a recruitment freeze from the technological companies, but it's not just from them, it's from banks, pharmaceutical and other sectors as well. So I think in general, there was a boom after the pandemic, and now companies are being concerned about the less consumption, less margin, and want to cut on their costs. So hopefully that's going to be momentarily. And I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I would, but hopefully, Q3 and Q4, I hope they'll be good quarters again. But yeah, it's going to be a complex year, definitely.
It's isn't there a supposedly a curse that something along the lines of may you live in interesting times, and whilst certainly we're grateful that we haven't actually we're not living in a country suffering conflict. Yeah. There's been a lot of very, very interesting situations over the past few years, ranging from sitting there in April 2020 wondering if we'll even have an industry by the end of the year, to ultimately everything working out okay. And 2021 was obviously challenging still. And there was, as you said, there was a queue of people who were there. The need for people to relocate physically has not been replaced by virtual working. There are definitely some virtual hybrid roles, and there's some people have been affected, but there's also a talent shortage. Weirdly, it's seemingly everywhere. How can there be a talent shortage everywhere? Are there not enough people? I've not really worked that one out. It's the fascinating subject of everybody seems to have a shortage. So why? But it's true. And then, 2022, I agreed, was an incredible year. 2023, my crystal ball is also at the cleaners. I have no idea what's going to happen. I feel positive. I think that, also organizations like TIRA are great in terms of sharing not just best practices, but like, okay, what's going on? How's business in your part of the world? Oh, it's still booming. Okay. Oh, it's gone a bit quiet here. I think that's something very special that we have, and just to know that there's somebody else out there. I also remember when Johanna Lennartson from Immersion and I had the same conversation. She told me that TIRA used to take it in turns to host its annual general meeting around the world.
That is true, actually, or at least, different continents. I think that's the way it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just putting it out there.
Okay.
Because I heard the idea, and the idea of having a TIRA meeting in Latin America or Southeast Asia. I don't know. I love travel, so I saw an opportunity there. But that's something because to add to the sharing of best practices, the physical ability to go and spend some time in another part of the world that otherwise maybe you wouldn't go to, that sounded like an additional benefit. Okay, maybe with the 30 plus members we have now, maybe it would be a little more complicated. But anyway, just an idea.
Something for a near future. Let's put it like that. Definitely.
Absolutely. Well, Christine, it's been great talking to you. I'm very, very much hoping that your and my 2023 is a great success. I'm very much looking forward to seeing you in person at the latest at the TIRA Day at the end of April. Yes. And thanks once again for joining me, and all the best.
Well, thank you for having this chat, and wishing you also very good day and week and month ahead until we get to see each other. All the best.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.